The group reached a consensus that only by retiring to a place in the mountains and putting ourselves into contact with nature, we could discover whether it was possible to live in harmony with nature. And we have proven it throughout 20 years that it is very possible and very favorable. Our health has improved from all points of view, because nature is prodigious. Only the fact of breathing fresh air, drinking pure crystalline water, and knowing there isn't any contamination, and then we can start with something real and very positive. The community's values have a common origin, which are the ideas of Mr. Herman Villanueva, who is a psychologist and also a biologist. He started to give talks on a national level about problems and situations with the environment mainly, about protection and conservation, and what importance that had for humanity. A group of people started to develop a consciousness and wanted to put these values into practice. Many people wanted to participate, but the moment of arrival, we were 43 people who were convinced and decided that we were going to abandon all of our activities in the city to come here to the mountains, to form and start a community. These were the first steps. It was very difficult in the very beginning. There was something inside of us that motivated us to create a community, to conserve, to protect, to learn, to be a school. I observed with my own eyes what the situation in the environment was like at that moment. All of the trees had been cut down, and the forest had also been burnt down to make room for grassland. So we found ourselves here. All of this area was converted into grassland for cattle, without any trees. And we started to plant, to cultivate trees, in such a way that we've planted, over these years, more than 2 million trees. As you can see, our houses are very difficult to observe because they're under a covering of trees. And this has transcended to other communities. We have done programs with indigenous people, so they too can cultivate trees and gain a little bit of money in the process. Opening consciousness to all of these people so they also can protect and help the environment. If we transport ourselves back in time, 500 years ago, all of this area was a beautiful virgin forest. As the area became more colonized, the deforestation and cattle came to the area. In the last century, in the 1960s, the government of Costa Rica promoted a program of colonization outside of the Central Valley. This was catastrophic for the area because many people came to the area and cut down many trees for farmland, for houses, to continue a process of colonization in the area. Welcome, Annika, to the Reforestation project. 20 years ago, when the community began, all of this that you can see here was completely and utterly deforested and burnt. All the trees were cut down. We had a dream. Our dream was to be able to recuperate the ecosystems that were original of the area. This represented an enormous amount of work. We had to plant more or less 500,000 trees. Everybody, of course, said we were crazy and we were wasting our time. But we wanted to give ourselves the opportunity and to face the challenge. Now, Annika, you can see for yourself the product of so many years of work. We can see animals, we can see many insects. The forest is alive. The brooks that were dead when we came here are now full of water. So the effort has given results. Here we are in the orchid nursery. We have a collection of more or less 45 different species of orchids which are in danger of extinction. One of the main problems that orchids have is the deforestation, because the majority of these plants need to live on top of the trees. Another very serious problem that we have is that people collect these plants for their own collections, or to also make a business, which is illegal in Costa Rica. However, still today, this happens. What we do is we collect the plants from fallen trees, we bring them here and we recuperate them. When we have quite a lot of plants, like this one you can see here, and then we can put them back into the forest. How many different types of orchids do you have? In Costa Rica, we have around about 3,000 different species, of which about 600 we can find here in the community. And we have found some new species also, which weren't known before. Here we have a small herd of goats. We have maintained these goats for 20 years. How many goats do you have? 50. Why do you have goats? Because the terrains here are very steep and they're only apt to forest. The goats are lighter, agile and wild. They adapt easier because they don't produce erosion in the soil. And the trampling is minimal. This is not the same with cows because they are very heavy and they destroy the terrain very easily. From the point of view of conservation, goats don't occupy as much space and do not generate contamination from carbon monoxide, which is the main agent causing the destruction of the ozone layer. Particle of goat's milk is smaller than cow's milk. Therefore, it is more digestible and does not produce cholesterol, and the composition is very similar to breast milk, which is better for your health. Other people have come that have been interested in goats, and they have realized that it is much easier to manage goats because they are smaller, easy to handle, even a child could guide and herd them. Unlike a cow that is heavier and more dangerous and much more difficult. With cows, we have to destroy a lot of forest, but not so with goats, as they require smaller areas of pasture. Because the goats, they eat branches and other plants, and they don't require only grass to eat. And this helps with conservation because they don't destroy the environment. And with the system that we have here, the goats graze, but they also spend time in their pens, and therefore do not generate a strong impact. This is a primary forest, which is composed of thousands of species, animals as well as plants. In Durika we conserve many types of trees and plants and insects and animals, all of which can form a part of the ecosystem, which are interrelated, one species with another, which creates a perfect harmony. When we walk through these forests, we feel we have a different reason for living, that we can exist, that we can learn, and that we can also share. But mainly, that we are part of this wonder, and that we are not a separated species, but we are part of this ecosystem, that we drink water, that we breathe air, that we find food, and we can find medicine that we can use. So, for us, the concept of biodiversity in nature goes much further than simply species, but that it is also related to ourselves and to our existence. Here in Durika, one of the projects that we have is organic agriculture. Organic agriculture is different from chemical agriculture because what this does is conserve the soil as much as nature, and at the same time we feed ourselves better. The soil is a very important element in agriculture because the plants will be feeding from the soil. If we feed the soil well, and then the soil can feed the plants well. Chemical agriculture feeds the plant but destroys the soil. It kills all of the microorganisms. Because in 1 square centimetre of soil, there are more than 5,000 million organisms. These are some lettuces that we planted in the greenhouse. We bring them to the garden when the roots are fully developed. As I said before, we add a little compost. You can feel the texture, the aroma and the freshness of the soil, and then we plant the lettuce. And day by day, this is how we plant all of the vegetables that we have here in Durika. One of the original objectives of the program of protection and conservation was to create a biological corridor that could join the Amistad International Park with the protected lands in the low area of the General Valley. At the moment, we are conserving 8,500 hectares, which are part of what we know as the Durika Biological Corridor. We're protecting around about 5 different ecosystems, and it goes from 1,850 meters to 1,000 meters. The biological corridor serves, as the word itself says, so that many species can migrate, can move around, and they can also eat and reproduce and find many different ecosystems so that they can live. Here we are entering the greenhouse of the garden of the community. It serves for the plants in their first stages of growth. We can see these ones here. These ones are now ready to take out into the fields. The soil that we use in the pots is a very special soil, prepared with different types of compost, one of which is a soil that's sterilized, that we take out from the carbon process. The Environmental Police is a group from the Durika Foundation that was created 6 years ago as an answer to the problems with the environment. Because the problem in the environment in this area is very severe. We've had problems with deforestation, burning, and hunting mainly. People have stopped protecting the environment and have started to cause a lot of damage. The area that we are protecting is quite far away, so the access is very difficult for the administrative police. So while the crimes are being carried out, for them to be able to arrive immediately, it could take them about 2 or 3 hours for them to arrive. But the fact that we are already there and we are protecting the area facilitates the access and makes those people that are carrying out those environmental crimes feel that, okay, well, we're not going to get any closer here because there are people protecting. This is the first environmental police that exists in the country. MINAI exists as an administrative body run by the state. We are the first formed as private security, exclusively dedicated to the environment. You can see the differences and the impacts that we've had. The tree cutting has decreased, and the fires in the windy, dry season also. In reality, we have had a very positive impact. The community has other alternative and clean ways of generating electricity. The first being wind power, produced of course by wind. The second is solar, but with the hydroelectric system, we have a permanent supply of water. We have some waterfalls more or less 1 kilometer from here, and we also have an intake of water which flows through 500 meters of pipeline, which has 100 meters more or less of difference from the intake to the turbine. Approximately 17,000 watts, 17 kilowatts, 42 amps, 60 hertz. That's what it is generating right now, and that produces almost all of the energy for the community. It's perfect because this system is a Pelton system, which signifies that it requires a lot of pressure. And to generate pressure, we need different levels. Because we have an area which is mountainous, we can find the conditions that are perfect for this type of system, apart from the fact that we also have a lot of water. And for these types of systems, we don't need so much water because it's a system that is specially designed for conservation for the ecosystems. You can ask yourself, can alternative, clean energy be used by anybody? Of course. Durika is an excellent example. The original investment could be a little high, but if we consider that we will have free electricity for 40, 50, or 60 years, it's well worth it. Durika is an incredible experience. If a person wants to change their lives, they can do so here. Here we work towards a fairer, a more just humanity, living in peace with all of those that live here, to inspire for a better world where we take care of nature so that it can be a more beautiful place. I would like this world to be more aware, more honest. We take care of what we have. We have such a beautiful planet, but people don't take care of it. They don't realize that we have so much to do, to protect, to love. I want human beings to make a change. We are always teaching with our example of how we can live in a more honest way, in harmony, in peace. I feel that a lot of people that come here feel this message and change their lives in some way, and I think that this is the force of Durika. Durika is a place where dreams become a reality. Here we can plant many trees, but I think what is the most important is the seed that we plant in the heart of each person that arrives here in Durika, so that the people can see that they too can make changes. Maybe they don't have to live like this as we are doing, but they also can make changes with small things that they do in their lives, the way of eating, the way of talking, the way of sharing. All of us, we can make a change so that this world can be a better place for us all, especially for the future generations. Take care of it well, and don't let them cut down the trees.